Well, hey there, I'm Withrow, and welcome to your first lesson in learning how to play guitar. And man, I'm excited for you. Well, cool, we'll grab your guitar and put the curve of your guitar there, you see, on your right leg. You want to sit up straight, right? But then you want to relax your shoulders. So your spine's straight, but you relax your shoulders, everything else is relaxed, and you're just sitting there. You drape your right arm over your guitar, and I let the, my elbow right here where it's bending, I let that sort of match up with the edge of my guitar so that I can bend or hinge my arm over my guitar, and it sits there nice and naturally. Now you will find the sweet spot for your arm as you're playing as we go through a few lessons. It might hurt a little bit from you keeping it in one spot too long, but eventually you'll find that sweet spot. So keep working at it there. It should be able to hold your guitar up. This arm, my right arm, should be able to hold the weight of my guitar. You don't want your left hand to have to hold up the weight of the neck. Okay, this arm should be able to do that. This one just can focus on, playing the notes. All right, and as we learn to strum, you just want your hand here on your right arm to be able to pass over the sound hole of the guitar right here. This is where most of the sound comes out of our guitar, and you just want it to be able to pass over there nicely. And that's how you hold your guitar. Now, let's talk about picks. Okay, grab your pick, guitar pick. You want the pointed end. You'll notice one end is more pointed. That's the part that actually is going to run over the strings here. So here's how we hold it. I just want you to hold it between your thumb and first finger only. Okay, see I'm holding that there, just between my thumb and first finger. You can hold it sort of on the side of your first finger if you want, or you can flatten your finger out a little and just hold it with the flat part of your finger. Either way works for me. I sort of change them up sometimes depending on how I'm strumming. If I'm strumming really hard, a lot of times I'll move it over to the side of my finger. If I'm doing a lot of intricate picking work, I might move it to a flatter part of my finger, but you will figure out what works good for you. Now let's learn how to strum with our pick. Okay, now you probably haven't tuned yet. You might not be in tune. Okay, our strings might sound completely different, but that's okay right now. We're gonna eventually learn to tune, but just let it sound like it sounds right now. Take that pick in your between your thumb and first finger, right? And don't hold it super tight. Don't hold it super tight. If you do, it's gonna have this really harsh, like machine-like sort of sound, and we don't want that. We want it to flow and be smooth and steady. And so you wanna have a not too loose of a grip, but just nice and comfortable and relaxed, okay? And as you run it over the strings, we're gonna run it up and down. You want the pick to flow over the strings like water over rocks, right? You want that pick to be able to change directions. You don't wanna keep it stiff. You want it to be able to change directions, flow down and up. So let that pick flow over your strings, down and up. Just practice that. You might even try it faster, right? And as you go down and up kind of quickly, you want that pick to be able to flop around just a little bit in your fingers so that it can change directions. Well, very good. That's how we strum. Now let's talk about how to pluck a string, and then we'll actually talk about our string names. So to pluck a string, let's start with this top string. This is called the low E string. This is our biggest, thickest string. And the way we pluck is we do a little circular motion. You don't just go straight down, because if you go straight down, you're gonna hit other strings, and you only wanna hit one string at a time. So I make a tiny little circular motion, down and out. I sort of come out from my guitar, out from it. And that allows me to hit just one string at a time. So practice plucking your strings, and let's practice plucking downwards, meaning that we're going down our strings like this. We do each string, right? And then let's practice plucking upwards. We start at that bottom string, which is called our high E, and we pluck upwards, up and out, up and out. And you just go through the strings, right? And that is what it is to pluck a string right there. Okay? Well, let's keep going. Let's learn our string names, right? The string names are very important because I will be referencing them all the time. Plus our tuner, right? When we're tuning, we've got to know these string names so that we can get them exact, so that we're exactly the same. So our first string, okay, there are 6 strings, and this is actually number 6. We start on number 6 and go down, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our 6th string is called the low E, all right? And we'll talk about why it's called low E in a minute. Our next string, pluck it, is our 5th string, A. Our next string is D. Next is G. Our second string is B. And our last string, our first string, is high E. Now it's called high E because this one is low E. We have two E's. Low E up here and high E down here. The reason it's called low is because it's like a low voice, right? And this one's called high E because it's like a high voice. So it's talking about pitch, a low pitch E and a higher pitched E. And that's why it's called low and high. Also, I wanted to mention, for remembering your string names, right? There's a funny little sentence, and I just do this with all my students. Elvis ate dynamite, goodbye Elvis. The first letter of each of those words helps you remember E-A-D-G-B-E. Elvis ate dynamite, goodbye Elvis. It's just a quirky little thing. I like to throw it out there for you. Well, now that we've learned our string names, let's talk about our musical alphabet, because that's going to help us learn how to tune, since our tuner uses our musical alphabet. Now, if you know your musical alphabet and can say it forwards and backwards, you can go A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, backwards and forwards, looping it, whatever, then you can go ahead and skip to the tuning section, okay? But if that is a little like, I don't remember that, or I've never even heard of that, then stick with me, okay? So the musical alphabet, the way it works is that each letter of our alphabet corresponds to a note on our guitar, just if we were to play our notes in order like this. Just going from a lower to a higher pitch is just like going from one note to the next in our musical alphabet. And the musical alphabet comes in two flavors, two variations. The first is the sharp alphabet, which we will be learning, and the second is the flat alphabet, okay? And the reason we're going to learn sharps is, one, it's a little easier conceptually to think about, but two, our tuners, virtually every tuner, their default mode is to tune in sharps, okay? So that's another reason we're going to learn it. Now, I'm going to say the sharp alphabet, and what I want to let you know about it is that each letter, like if we have the letter A, each letter also has a corresponding sharp with it. So it'll go A and then A sharp. Now, most every letter has that except for two. There always has to be an exception, right? There are two special letters that don't have sharps, and that is B and E. There is no B sharp, there is no E sharp. It just goes from B to the next letter C, and from E to the next letter F, and you're gonna see that. So let me say the sharp alphabet. A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and that's the end of our alphabet as far as that goes, but actually we can keep going. That's the cool thing about the musical alphabet, unlike the written alphabet. The written alphabet just stops at Z, right? But with our musical alphabet, G sharp is sort of like the highest note we go to, but then you can start over and go to A sharp, and keep going. And you can go forwards like that or backwards. So if you were at A, you could go backwards to G sharp, and that would be correct. And you need to know that when you're tuning, especially for your A note, is that you could be at a G sharp note, your tuner could say G sharp, but it's actually lower. It's too low and you need to go to the next note from G sharp to A. So you'll get that down as we learn more. Well, now that you know that musical alphabet, we are ready to jump into tuning. So grab your tuner. Now, I highly suggest a clip-on tuner, meaning you can take that tuner and clip it onto the headstock of your guitar. The reason I suggest a clip-on tuner is because even if there's a lot of noise going on around you, maybe there's another musician playing or your kid's crying or something, you can still tune accurately because this tuner picks up the vibrations through the body of the guitar rather than through the airwaves, right? Whereas like other tuners that you might have to sit on your leg or on a table or an app on your phone even, okay, those tuners, they have the microphone and they have to pick up the sound through the air. So if other noises are happening, it doesn't pick it up as well. So that's why I really suggest a clip-on tuner. Okay, so those are two kinds, clip-on and the kind that sit on a table that pick up through the air. There's also a pedal tuner, right? And that's often used for on-stage tuning. So you have a little pedal, that you can stomp on, and you run your cable out of your guitar if you have electronics in your guitar into that pedal, and that provides silent tuning when you're plugged into a sound system. But in this case, if you're at home and learning, clip-on tuner is great. Now, as we enter into the tuning section here, I'll just remind you that there's that cool video in the supplemental video section of this website that will take you through in depth how to tune with a tuner. It's called How to Tune with a Tuner. So if you need that, if you find, man, I just need some more help with this, then you can actually see like a close-up of the screen, what my tuner's doing as we tune if you need that. So that's just a reminder. Well, here we go. Click that tuner on. All right, and one thing you want to develop, okay, what I notice a lot of, especially beginning students, what they need to develop is their ear in hearing if a note is lower or higher than one I'm playing. So if I play my low E string, right? This nice low E, right? You want to ask yourself, play yours. Does yours sound higher, lower, or exactly the same as mine? And if you're like, I have no idea, then that's something that you're going to be developing and working on as you go through these lessons, okay? Now that's why you have a tuner, is it can tell you. So you look at your tuner, you ask what note it's on, right? And if yours is too low, it'll probably be at D sharp or D, see somewhere lower in the alphabet than E. And if it's too sharp or too high, then it might be at F, F sharp, even G, and you'll need to come down. So develop your ear, hear if it's lower or higher, and then bring it down to match mine and use your tuner to match it right on E, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and play through the rest of my strings so that you can hear what they're supposed to sound like. I'm perfectly in tune right now. So that's low E, okay? Let's go to A. This is what the A string should sound like. So ask yourself, is yours higher or lower than mine? And then that will help clue you in as to what direction to twist your tuner to match mine and then to get it perfect on your tuner. The next string is D. Cool. The next string is G. The next string is B. And then the next string, our last one, is high E. And you just want your strings to match mine just like that. And when you're done, you should be able to play all 6 strings and it sound like that. Well, cool. Well, now that we are done tuning, let's actually learn to play a note here. That's what we're trying to get to, and now we're here. So we've spent a lot of time focusing on our right hand, plucking, all that stuff. We've got it tuned. But now we're all about our left hand. So a couple techniques for your left hand. First thing, as I always say, give your guitar neck, this is called the neck, the head, the neck, and the body, okay? So the neck of your guitar, you always want to give a thumbs up to it. You always want to tell it, good job, man. That thumb should be up on the back of the neck. Whether your thumb's high, whether it's low, it should always be up, not sideways. Sideways is no good. It doesn't let you spread your fingers very far. Up lets you spread your fingers super far when you're playing guitar. Okay, I liked how that rhymed. All right, and so that's that. Now you don't want to choke the neck, right? Just like you don't want someone choking you by grabbing your whole neck. You want to lightly, delicately touch the neck, and you want there to be space between your hands. So you don't ever want to grab the whole thing all the way around. We want to have some space there. Okay, and the third thing is that we curve our fingers around to play notes, and we use the tip of our finger. So the curviness of our fingers plus the very tip right there beside your fingernail. You don't want to be using the middle of your finger, the flat part, okay? You want to use the very tip, and it's going to hurt a little bit as you play, and that's good because that's telling your body to build callus on your fingers. You're going to develop some awesome thick skin in those fingers that are going to allow you to play for hours at a time. But you've got to get there first. Right now your fingers are all tender, and we're going to get them tough, all right? So that's the technique for our left hand. Now, let's talk about actually what all this stuff going on the front of our neck, right? Which is called the fretboard and the frets. Let's talk about what those are. So the word is fret. Okay, we're going to be playing frets. Now, these metal bars you see here stuck in the wood are actually what are the frets. But we never put our finger directly on them. We always put our finger right above each of them when we play, okay? So when we're practically talking about playing a fret, we're actually talking about putting our finger in the space in between the actual metal frets, okay? So if I refer to my first fret, normally it's like I'm practically talking about this space in between what's called the nut here, this little plastic part at the end, and this first metal fret. That's the first fret. So that first space is number 1, first fret. The second space is our second fret. Then our third fret, fourth, fifth, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, all the way up to like 20, 21 frets normally for acoustic guitars. You can go even up to 24 frets on electric guitars. But normally we hang around, from our 12th fret and down, okay? The other thing I'll talk about frets that makes the playing world much, much easier is these dots on the side of your guitar, okay? These dots allow you to not have to count every single time from number 1 all the way up to number 9, right? You want to be able to get to places fast on your guitar, and that's what these dots allow you to do. Most guitars have dots on 3, 5, 7, and 9. Some of them just start at 5, and even rarer still, some of them just have a dot on number 7 or just a dot on number 12, okay? But most guitars have 3, 5, 7, 9, and double dots on the 12th fret. So 3, 5, 7, and 9, notice they are odd numbers, okay? So that helps you find those odd numbers, plus even numbers, then you can just know that they would be in between our dots, right? So 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 here. And double dots is an even number, normally it's 12, okay? So those will help you find notes quickly. So as far as playing a note, we're gonna start in our first fret, and we're gonna be on our high E string. Take your pick, between thumb and first finger, pluck your high E string. It's the lowest string, the thinnest string, and it produces the highest note, okay? Our high E string. Now put that thumb on the back of the neck, have it point up, have space between your hand, curve your first finger around, put the very tip of your finger in this first fret space on the high E string. It should be on the bottom string, and you've got all this space, right, to put it. But where I want you to put it is as close to the actual metal fret as you can without actually being on top of it. And if you're really close without actually being on top of it or touching it much, then it will give you the nicest sounding note possible. It will have the least amount of buzz, and it will be the best in tune that it can be. Sometimes if your finger's too low down here, the note will be buzzy like this and not be as in tune as it should be. So get it really what I call low in the fret, lower in the fret or close to the fret as possible. Okay, low in the space, close to the fret. Well, that's our first fret. Press down hard, squeeze it, and pluck that F note. This is actually an F note that we're creating. All right, then move to the second fret. You go into the second space, you get it low in the space and close to that fret, and then you play. And that's our second fret. Great. Now you can use any finger you want. You could use your middle finger, your third, or your pinky, and I highly suggest you trying out different fingers. But go ahead and start playing through all the frets. Go to your third fret. Switch fingers and try your fourth fret. Use the very tip of that finger, and as you slide your hand down the neck, keep your thumb up. Let your thumb sort of relax, and then clamp down as you play a note. As you slide, it relaxes, and then you clamp back down. Relaxes, clamp back down. Very good. Keep that guitar up and down, right? Don't let it lean too much. Instead, sort of crane your head over to see the note if you need to, rather than tilt your guitar. But it's still going to be kind of hard to see. You just want to get used to that. You might even practice with your eyes closed a few times and see if you can change from fret to fret without looking, to develop your feel of changing a note rather than having to see it. Great. Keep practicing that. Take as much time as you need. Play other strings even. Get used to doing that just as long as your thumb stays up. And you push your wrist forward and around to curve your fingers. And that's how you play guitar. And there's your first lesson. Quick as that. I hope you had a great time learning how to hold your guitar, how to tune it, how to play it. Now I don't want to stop you from getting that second lesson, learning how to play your first song. So enjoy it, and I'll see you there.